Call this meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I see there is only two changes to it, so it would be under 4.6, a resolution for the Melrose fire relief, and then there's another one, a resolution for the Melrose Lions. Is there anything else?
There is, if you refer to the next page.
Oh, okay, the market
Yep,
rate
yep,
adjustment,
the market rate
2025
adjustments, sir.
COLA.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions? Could I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Then there's a consent agenda, approval of the minutes, bills, purchase orders, the investments, tobacco license. There's some gambling resolutions. There is also,
Sorry. Did you skip open forum?
oh, I am sorry about that. We can do that. Is there anybody that would like to speak at the open forum? So sorry about that. Yes.
State your name, your address.
So I have to say my address? Which one? Business or?
Both.
Both.
Whichever one's, whatever you want.
What are your last residence for
Frank
last?
Schiffler, 537 Main Street East, Melrose, Minnesota. And I know you guys talked about this at the last city council meeting, regards to the south curve of the bowling alley's parking lot. I know I've already talked to somebody that knows what they're talking about, and we did take a measurement on the curve. If that curve would be like the west side of the bowling alley, which if you drive up, I don't know, has anybody driven up the parking lot since I've had it done and when I had it before?
Yes.
The middle of the parking lot before was exactly like what we have now, which is a rough, which my personal opinion is too high. Whatever happens when you decide whatever you want to do with it, but I would like, it would be nice to have something done with it. It's way too steep, way too steep. I mean, you come up and
You're talking the curb, the curb
itself
portion.
on that south side of that, all the way.
Yeah.
Back, before you did any of this, the middle part, the 20 feet or whatever was high. It lifted up. The outside was all good. So I said, now I have the whole length of the parking lot. That is a big bump. If you look on the west side of the park, if you come in from the west side of the parking lot, you can see that's a nice, gradual, really nice entrance. That's, I think, what was supposed to be done on the south side of the parking lot, but it hasn't been done. You've seen it. Also pertaining to that, which wasn't brought up at the meeting, as a taxpayer of the city of Melrose, I was told last spring that there was a few bad areas that were supposed to be dug out. None of them were dug out. The sewer pipe that I was supposedly, which they talked to me about, was supposed to get fixed, which is still sitting on an incline like this instead of down, so it ends up building up. I know eventually within a year or two, I'm gonna have to have it cleaned out again. But I said those are two items that I thought that we're supposed to have done that weren't done. I've been talking about that project for how long? I said a project that should have taken a week took 6 weeks. A project for 7 weeks. And so I said, that's it. Second thing I have, most of you know I'm on the Park and Rec Board. We had a discussion at the last Park and Recs meeting. I know Justin Freeler is leaving the city council, so he has to get off the Park and Recs. We discussed this a little bit at the city council, or at the Park and Recs meeting. It would really be nice if you take a look at your bylaws or whatever for who goes on the Park and Recs. Right now I'm an at-large one, and I would personally like to see Justin brought on as an at-large. Instead of taking somebody from MATA, who else, Dave Burshak, what board is he on?
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning, and just putting him on. I know I've talked to somebody that just went on MATA that goes, I just want to be on MATA, I do not want to be on any other board. So it'd be really nice if you looked at it. I've been on the board for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years or whatever. I missed one meeting that I know Justin hasn't missed one. It's nice to have him on the board. He's done a great job and everything. So I would recommend you look at the bylaws of what you want to do with that, and so be it, okay? Thanks, appreciate it.
Yep.
Oh, if anybody ever wants to talk to me. I'm always at it.
Thanks, Greg.
Usually, we don't comment on that, but I guess I would like a report on what's all going on over there. And in my opinion, with the Parks and Rec Board, I do want us to look at it. History with that is, the Parks and Rec Board was revitalized, I think, when I got on the council. And we didn't really have people that were interested in getting on it, so we sort of forced other boards to help out. In fact, I think we put 2 from MATA, 2 from PUC back in the day, just to fill it.
Yeah.
And so we're getting some great things happening, so that gets people interested, so I'm open for that, so whoever,
And I think we changed it down to 1 person from
We
each
did.
board.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
now, I mean, we have so many people that are always interested in it,
I would,
but we only get 2 spots open a year, so.
Yep.
Or
I-
or every 2 years or 3 or whatever it is, so.
Can we just add 1 position to it and then?
I don't know how that really works.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'd have to do the research on it,
Yep.
I'm not sure.
I would agree, let's do some research on it, and see what we can do, so, thank you for speaking.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Greg.
All right.
Like her.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak at the open forum?
Make those boys in the audience talk.
Kids are supposed to come up and tell us about your class, what you're learning right now? Nothing? Okay. All right, well then we'll move forward. There was a couple donation resolutions. Resolution number 2024-51, $500 from the Melrose Legion Post 101 towards the Melrose Area Chamber of Commerce Holiday Kickoff Celebration. Resolution number 2024-52, resolution $500 from the Melrose Legion towards Melrose Parks. Resolution number 2024-53, $100 from Oscar Jacobson, American Legion Post towards Melrose Veterans Park. Resolution number 2024-54, 9606 from Lindsay Shimileski for the Melrose Parks and Recreation Department for trees. And there's resolution number 2024-56, amount of $3,194 from the Melrose Fire Relief on behalf of the Big Birch Lakes Charities towards the city of Melrose for a rescue boat for the fire department. Then let's see here, there's another one, resolution 2024-59, $5,000 from the Melrose Fire Relief towards a new ladder truck. And then there's some other gambling resolutions. There's a pay app. Number 3, Highlands Boulevard Extension to Northern Lines Contracting. Then there's a pay application number 2, change order, alternative transport for the sidewalks. If there's any questions, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we are on to a public hearing, 2025 budget and levy, resolution number 2024-57, resolution adopting a tax levy of the 2025 budget and 2025 through 29 5-year capital improvement plan, truth and taxation preparation. Jackie?
Thank you, Mayor Finken and Council. Good evening, welcome to the Truth and Taxation hearing for December 19th. Tonight we will be discussing the City of Melrose 2025 budget and tax levy. The purpose of this hearing is to give the taxpayers an opportunity to become involved in the local government budgeting process and focus on the relationship between budget decisions and property taxes.
I had to go, down. It's, for whatever reason, it's the other way. I don't know why. So I think if you go down, there we go, there you go. It's, I don't know why I was doing that.
The City of Melrose budget process is built on systematic goals of the City Council, Public Utilities Commission, staff, and the city residents. The process to prepare the budget begins in June with the Finance Director providing revenue expenditure projections to the department heads. A staff retreat is then held with members of all departments along with the city engineer with the intention of collaborating on upcoming projects, aiming to minimize costs. The Council and Public Utilities Commission then meet to review each department preliminary needs and revenue resources along with the long-term capital goals. year, the city council and staff held 2 work sessions to discuss the preliminary budget, first in September and second in November. The preliminary budget and tax levy were adopted in September. This information is then given to Stearns County so they can prepare and issue the truth in taxation notices sent to each property owner. The goal of this process are to develop a budget that is achievable, taking into consideration future projects and spending needs while striving to maintain a stable tax rate for the city of Melrose taxpayers. Property taxation and how do we compare? The city's net tax capacity value is used to calculate the city's tax rate. As the taxable market value increases, the city's net tax capacity increases. It is important to note that local governments do not directly set the tax rate. The city's tax rate is calculated based on the total levy amount for the funds from the property tax owners needed to provide city services, divided by the city's net tax capacity value for that year. This rate is what is applied to each individual property, determining the property tax value. The chart above shows a comparison of the city's tax rates for 2024 with other Stearns County cities. The orange dotted line is the 2025 proposed tax rate for Melrose. As you can see, we are in the bottom third of comparable communities. Here you can see the city's taxable market value from 2018 to current. The Stearns County assessor determines the market value for each parcel the year before the taxes are payable. When the city's taxable market value changes, there will be an impact on the city's tax rate. For 2024, the taxable market rate for the city of Melrose was $300,204,900. The slide above shows the changes in the city of Melrose net tax capacity over the past several years. The next net tax capacity for 2024 was $3,320,088. For 2025, it is estimated with a 3% growth to $3,419,691. There can be several reasons why property taxes vary from year to year. Some examples of these are market value changes, voter-approved referendums, and special assessments. Next, we will be discussing the proposed tax levy and general fund budget. The 2025 proposed tax levy for the general fund is set at $1,450,000, a $50,000 increase over 2024, and the debt levy is set at $80,000, a $10,000 decrease from 2024. This brings the total proposed tax levy to $1,530,000. Due to an increase in tax capacity, you can see the tax rate actually had a minimal decrease. City debt. The city of Melrose is fortunate as it does not hold significant debt. The general debt is a governmental bond with a current balance of $580,000. This will be paid off in 2028, so 2027 will be the last time we'll have to levy this debt. The city will also holds a utilities bond with the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority. However, taxpayers are not liable for this debt as it is paid through revenue from utility customers. Here's a look at the historical tax levy trends. You will notice there were significant changes between 2021 and 2023. This was due to legislative discussions regarding large cuts to local government aid and the anticipation of the loss of those funds. The city works to keep changes in the tax levy flat, essentially aiming for small incremental changes. Since 2016, there's been a little over a 26% decrease in tax rates, dropping from 71.2% to 44.74%. In 2025, the general fund revenue budget is $3,416,318, an increase in $6,332 or 2% over 2024. Property taxes are the largest revenue source for the city, which makes up 43% of the city's revenue. Intergovernmental revenues, specifically local government aid, account for 36% of the city revenue. The transfer from the electric fund for franchise fees represents 14% of the city's revenue. The continued growth of municipal electric service help reduce the city's need to raise the tax levy. Other revenue sources consist of licenses and permits, charges for services, fines and forfeits, donations, investment income, and miscellaneous revenues. Here's a chart representing the breakdowns of revenues. As you can see, the greatest source of revenue is property taxes. Local government aid is set by the state of Minnesota using a formula that compares a city's need with its ability to pay. This need is measured differently for cities of different sizes. The city's local government aid for 2025 is $1,171,068, which is an increase of $2,501 over 2024. Next, we'll discuss the general fund expenditures. The 2025 general fund expenditures budget is $3,473,171, which is $56,853 higher than budgeted revenues. This results in an expected decrease in unassigned fund balance. Here's a chart representing the breakdowns of expenditure sources. Miscellaneous include assessing, cable communications, and building inspection. A large street percentage is due to set-asides for future equipment and road repairs. Above is an overview of the general fund expenditure history. Expenditures are projected to be slightly lower in 2025. This chart shows the changes in the budgeted general fund expenditure history since 2016. These can vary depending on the capital improvement projects being budgeted for. Proposed 2025 and other governmental fund budgets. The 2025 Special Revenue Funds budget summary shows revenues and expenditures for our special revenue funds. These include MATA, or the Melrose Area Development Authority Fund, which accounts for the economic and industrial development and redevelopment activities for the city of Melrose, and the Fire Department Fund for the City of Melrose Volunteer Fire Department. They serve the City of Melrose along with surrounding townships and several communities. There are a number of state aid and grant funds included in special revenue funds. We also have our capital project funds, the main one being the Capital Improvement Fund. This accounts for almost all the city's capital needs. These capital improvement fund revenues are projected to come in at just over $175,000 over expenses. The remainder are TIF funds for various developmental projects throughout the city. Lastly, we have one debt service fund for the levy and the payment for the debt service. The city council does not oversee the utility funds, but to gain perspective as a city as a whole, here's a condensed view of the 2025 budget approved by the Public Utilities Commission. As you can see, there is not a dynamic change between 2024 and 2025. One thing the city does along with the budget planning process is looking at the upcoming years to try to plan for future needs and projects. Looking at an estimated growth and estimated tax capacity helps determine an estimate of what we need for our total levy. The goal is to keep the tax rate as flat as possible and not to have huge jumps for the taxpayer. The city's capital improvement fund is our main fund used for capital projects. Throughout the year, staff look at what our needs are for projects or equipment and try to prioritize the highest need and look if other funding sources are available, trying to avoid the city incurring any more debt. And here is a summary of the capital expenditures along with the reserve balance for the next 5 years. You can see for the reserve accounts, there will be a slight increase. Then when the spending comes back around, it drops again. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Do you want the remote back?
Oh yeah, I probably should take that back. Thanks.
So it is 6:22 and it is open if anybody does have any questions. If not, the budget and levy to be adopted at the hearing to meet state law requirements. After the final levies are adopted, it must be certified by December 31st. So the action on here council take action on adopting the proposed resolution prior to closing the hearing. Resolution number 2024-57, resolution adopting the tax levy in the 2025 budget. If there's any questions,
No.
motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the council will take action adopting the 2025 through 2029 five-year capital improvement plan. Any questions? All right, can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And the public does have the right to ask for a hard copy of this. So if there's anything needed, feel free to call the city offices and request it. We are on to reports. Police Department monthly report.
Good evening. Our November 2024 report for the traffic rating, 17 citations, 76 verbal warnings, written warnings at 23. Vast majority of those were related to seasonal or 24-hour parking. Hopefully with today's weather event that people heeded the warnings early enough, otherwise there could very well be citations tonight and into the weekend. So that was the goal of trying to get ahead of those things before the snow started flying. November 2024, we had 265 calls or requests for service. Last year we had 256, so an increase of 9 calls or requests for the year, or for the month, I should say. The numbers for the year are going to be a bit skewed. We went in mid-November to a new system countywide, so I don't know what we had for where we're at year to date, but by the end of the year, Stephanie will have the numbers figured out and the reporting systems figured out. So you are probably seeing that a different reporting style, and that's still a work in progress. So 9 agency assists, which is extremely low for us, just fine. But other than that, we got nothing more going on in the police department.
All right.
Questions?
Nope. Thank you, Chief. Scott, city attorney report.
Yeah, just a few, we got lots to talk about with cannabis coming up later. Other coming events, we're working on trying to modify the zoning ordinance further to accommodate e-billboards, so we can look for that to be coming. And then just some projects that are kind of percolating regarding Railroad West and maybe acquisition of some additional property over by the wellhead property south of the interstate. So those are things that are in the works. Nothing real big to report at the moment. So that's, I'll be back to talk at length about cannabis. So unless you've got questions, I'll sit down.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, Sheila, Community Development Director.
So on December 2nd, the closing did take place with Roach Development. So Roach Development now owns the 25 lots out in Railroad West. They did contact me this week to start the process of vacating easements and vacating streets. So we'll start moving those through in January. Both plats are complete and recorded up in Highlands, and the lots are selling, so that is good news up on the north side. City staff attended a meeting at the Melrose Area High School to talk about their parking lot project. We have some concerns about the infrastructure we have in the northwest corner. Also making sure there's still a buffer to the residential neighborhoods so the lights aren't shining in some of those houses. And they'll also have a need for ponding because of all the additional impervious surface that they're adding up there. So we are in touch with them on those meetings. The final certificate of occupancy was issued for the Wabagon Crossings apartment. So all 73 units are now open and leasing, which is good. It is busy out there. Lastly, I noted that we have reached almost $30 million in building permits for 2024. That brings our 3-year total to over $75 million. The city has not seen this level of projects consistent in 3 back-to-back years. Part of it is projects are just more expensive, but also we just have a lot of projects. I like to focus on that number because it represents private investments on the part of businesses and homeowners. We can do streets and we can do the wastewater plant, but this $75 million over 3 years really represents businesses and homeowners doing work on their properties. and investing in the city. And so that's why I like to point that number out. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Dave, city engineer report.
All right, good evening. A little quieter in town here now on my end since the snow started flying. It was good for Andrew and his team, good for me. So Highlands, as Sheila mentioned, is going well. I mean, we've done our part in there. It's ready for houses up there. Final wear course in the spring, otherwise that one's good to go. Active transportation sidewalk, you guys approved the final payment to our Perchie and compensating change order this evening. We'll get that state aid reimbursement request in to get the rest of our grant funds before the end of the year here. We've met all our criteria for the state, so that went pretty well overall on that project. Lastly, Craig mentioned at the open forum, that curve over on First Street Southeast. I did go look at it after the last meeting and also during the day following another visit. It's steep. It's not going to ever be like the west side of his property because we have actual right-of-way there. On the south side, we only have about 3 feet behind the curb of right-of-way, so you have to go steeper to tie in at our right-of-way. Okay, it's just a different style curb. It does meet the MnDOT drive-over style curb. It's going to be sharper than like a driveway curb, which is what he was hoping for. So that part's unfortunate. We can absolutely look at it in the spring. I've been out there several times and met with Craig myself. That issue didn't actually come up, unfortunately, until after it was paved, despite the fact that it was in. So I'm happy to meet out there. I'm happy to meet any council members out there walking with you. Not a problem whatsoever. We have a contractor that's on board. They'll do Act for concrete in the spring no matter what. So it doesn't need to be a closed issue. As far as I'm concerned, it's not. But like I said, happy to walk any of it with you. But the way it was put in is the way it was intended, and I'll leave it at that. Yeah, more background on the sanitary sewer issue too, if you'd like to hear it. So that's we'll talk about it another day. So
It's good.
It's good to know. Thank you. City administrator report, Colleen?
So we are currently hiring for 2 positions within the city. One is a police officer position that we are still trying to fill, and the other is electric line supervisor position. That particular position has been vacant for a very long time. Really, our biggest challenges are with that department and having staff. And so the public utilities met at their regular meeting, and they're looking at various options or different things regarding the electric side. Also, just in general, majority of my time has been spent over on the utility side, at the wastewater, water, and electric, just because of what's happening with those things. And then also, a lot of the budgets, a lot of kind of goofy data requests we're having to deal with, but you know, just a lot of different things day to day. It's just that's about it. So I think I have some things later on that I'll talk about.
All right. All right, we're on to 7A, ordinance number 12-1924-1, an ordinance summarizing and reaffirming the fees for city license, permits and services, establish a schedule of fines, and providing a sequential review, modification, and amendment. So, yeah. Do we have any questions about anything? Or?
Just real quick, I noticed there was 2 fees added, one for appliance and debris and one for junk vehicles. I think that's $750, is that correct? $750?
Tony, I can speak to that. We didn't get a chance to talk about that at the last budget meeting. I know those were significant increases. Talked with Patty, and they're allowable dollar amounts under state statute, and the reason I proposed those numbers is to potentially avoid the time we spend with Scott abating properties.
Right.
And maybe moving forward with these being remedied sooner. So if you have a junk vehicle on your property, you have numerous appliances on your property, or whatever it is, you get the still same amount of time to take care of it on our side, but instead of then waiting for a future council meeting, 10-day notices, all those sorts of things, it's a $750 administrative ticket. If you choose to pay the ticket, we're kind of out of luck as far as how far we can go as going after the property and actually get it cleaned up. But I think it's something like that coming in the mail, as opposed to another hearing or another
Right.
whatever else, and kicking the can down the road. And at times, we've been in November and December working on these properties yet when it is difficult to then clean them up. So that was a proposed idea. If it's something that
Yep.
you don't feel is a comfortable number, I'm fine with that as well.
I was, more or less, my question was, is that to cover the expense of going in and cleaning it up, or is that's just basically an administrative fine, saying we're gonna fine you this, it's local assessment or whatever, for having that on your property?
Right.
Okay. Without doing something about it,
Right.
right? Okay. I don't know. I mean, it's a big number, but, you know, it's a good tool. I can see your point there.
And I am comfortable with a different number. I just
Yeah.
felt as though that was,
No, I trust you on
We
your,
that would
can,
get
we can
people's
change it
attention.
if it becomes an issue,
Yeah.
whatever, so.
no, I think that you did research on it, I'll trust you for it. So, if there's any other questions, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Vacant building ordinances. Who would like to talk?
Scott and I are gonna tag team next.
Okay.
So we discussed before the meeting that all three of these ordinances are ordinances you've seen before, we've discussed before. I think the first one on your agenda is the vacant building registration. We have made just a couple of minor tweaks to it. An extension was made to allow buildings to be vacant for 18 months before registration is required, except in the case of health safety concerns. And we have more clearly defined those health and safety concerns now in the ordinance. And in the case of fire, the owner would have 90 days to come up with a plan. So I don't know if there are any further questions on this ordinance.
Does 90 days seem short though for somebody that's got a, I mean, if it's a fire?
I
Do
think
they
they just
even-
need to come and talk to us about a plan.
Okay. So I was just thinking like that might be quick before they even know what they're even gonna get for insurance or.
Yeah. It's more just communications is how we're starting it out.
Right. No, I'm fine with that.
One, obviously, one's is condemned. There's a process for getting a building condemned. Two is unoccupied or unsecured for 5 days or more.
Unsecured, which means it's an open building, which would be a concern for the police officers, that people can just wander in.
Okay. That would kick in this vacant building policy where now the owner has to come and register the building with
That
the
or
city.
they're gonna have to deal with the police or somebody to secure their building.
Right.
Yeah.
If a building is not secure, if somebody leaves their door open, it's not really a hazard, it's not devaluing the neighbor's property. Someone has to leave the door open. Leave the door open. Why should we care? You know, it's, a lot of people leave their garage doors open all the time. Is that unsecured? That one I kind of have that one gives me a little heartburn after 5 days. You know, it's just, and the reason why I bring this up is, you know, first thing we do when we get elected to the city council is we swear to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution, the forefathers put a lot of stock in private property rights. And those private property rights go pretty far as not having to answer to government. Now, granted, a lot of that stuff has been kind of thrown out the window, and you can't do hardly anything without your property, without getting a building permit or some type of permit, okay, from the local government. Now it's going a step further, and it's taking people's rights away to do as people see fit with their property. They own it, it's not occupied, but they still own it. If it's not showing signs of dilapidation, or just because somebody is not in a building on a property, I just have some reservations on it's just a little bit too far as our Constitution goes. It's private property. Why should they have to register it with the government now, that building or that property, and give the government a plan of What are you doing with it? When are you gonna use it? When are you gonna have it occupied? When are you, now we have to have access to it. It goes as far as people have to give access to the city officials to go into the building just because it's not occupied. It just feels a little bit too far. There's, let's see, I got something highlighted here.
Well, I do want to interject on that part of it, but, I think some of this is open up for, gives us a little bit of an open door for the frequent flyers. Is what I think we're getting at is, we get people that have, they just leave their house open, or, broken windows is another thing that it means that if someone has windows open and glass is hanging out, it's a potential hazard, even though, yes, people can't trespass, but there's still potential hazards, and you can get squatters or, people starting fires in somebody's house, it can happen either way, but it's just, when you get a frequent flyer, or, I'm just thinking that we have the ability not to be so hardcore on it, but if it's somebody that's constantly, it's my opinion. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and it's, and I understand there are certain properties that the city staff or certain individuals in the community feel something should happen with them. There's a couple of them on Main Street there, that the old cleaners, whatever, those two buildings. They're just sitting there, not really hurting anything. They've been empty for years and years and years. And yes, it looks like the one is tipping a little more, but that may constitute an actionable intervention by the government, because it is a hazard. When you lose your property rights is when you are potentially infringing on other people's property rights. Does that make sense? You can't use your property to infringe on other people's rights. Dogs barking, we have ordinances against that. They've got dogs. Granted, I've never called in my neighbors, but I tend to just work it out with my neighbors and talk to them about it, and, you work it out that way. It's not a government actionable thing in my mind. But there are lots of dogs barking out there, so that is impacting other people's property rights to enjoy their property. I don't know if I'm getting through or making any sense here, but, so here's just one thing I had highlighted. During the middle of the 20th century, the economic system which allows ownership on paper, while the government made all of the important decisions regarding the uses of property, was called fascism. That's what, during the middle of the 20th century, all these changes were made. Everybody came out with pitchforks and they called it fascism, right? Because now the government knows best. Government tells everybody what they can do with their property. I think what I'm trying to get at is there needs to be a litmus test to when this, I think a better litmus test, when somebody gets charged with having to register their property with the government. I think it is when it's impacting your direct neighbor's property. When it appears to, like first scooters, you could see the roof was falling in. That is actually attached to the neighbor building. That is obviously going to affect the neighbor's property, right?
But financially, it doesn't matter? I mean, like, you're devaluing my property because yours is a...
Devaluing is another one, where if you are obviously impacting, but that could be construed, who interprets that? There's...
Same people that set our taxes every year that we don't agree with, that my house is worth $350,000, when I feel it's only worth $100,000.
Right. And...
If I could make a couple observations. The Supreme Court has defined what a taking is. And these arguments about how far can you go to regulate before it's a taking, and the court has given governments, including cities, broad powers. I mean, they don't recognize a taking until there is no, reasonable use of the property. All we're saying here with unoccupied, we're not even telling that you have to occupy it. We're just saying you have to keep it secure. And what happened, it's like, well, when does it become an infringement? Within the last week, I saw on the news, we hear about the homeless encampments down in Minneapolis. And all the neighbors are upset, and apparently there's nothing you can do about it. Well, they had a fire in one of them, and, somebody lost their house, and the people next to the house up beside that was damaged. So, well, okay, do you want to wait until something like that happens? Or do you want to have tools to head it off? And all we're saying, I think, with the unoccupied and unsecured is, one, you gotta find out that it's unoccupied and unsecured. And two, the owner's given a chance to go in and secure it, and it's secure.
Right.
So, it's not I don't see it as a taking, and I don't see it as unreasonable infringement to tell someone, you gotta secure your property so that you don't get squatters, you don't get kids running in there, because now they've found a place to have a party house, or out in a shed on a cold night.
Right.
Do people leave their houses open? Sure. But if someone actually has to report, we got a problem, the door's been standing open for 5 or 6 days, or I know they're not home and there's a bunch of people running in and out of there that shouldn't be there.
Right.
So yeah, this doesn't strike me as overreaching on the part of the city.
Okay.
Thank you.
At least in a constitutional sense.
Right.
And I know at our MATA meeting, we did approve that we wanted to go this way in our last meeting, because it's been second time now, or is this third?
No, this is the second
Second
time
time
it's come
now.
back to the council.
Well,
I
and
think some of the timeline was, because we went from
Yeah.
6 months to 18 months, so
Yep.
I think
Right.
part of your thing is like 5 days versus if it was open for, now it's like, should it be open a month? But what Scott's definition is, it's not if you leave your house door unlocked for the week that the
Right.
police are at your driveway. It's, sounds like if it's open or unsecure, it's not just,
Yeah, and the
Where
building
they have
vacant,
suspicion.
not just a home.
Yeah, where they have suspicion. Yeah.
because it does feel, like the way you're describing it,
Right.
it feels like it's a little bit more,
Onerous.
yeah.
Or potentially onerous. And that's, with any of these ordinances, you just, well, I look at I just hope they don't get taken advantage of in a way, or, I know what your intentions are, but this is gonna be permanently on the books, and there's, I'm sorry, but there's gonna be a new city administrator someday and a new, police chief, and we all know what our intentions are, but what are the next people's intentions? Is this opening a door where it can be abused? And obviously, the next council can figure that out too, but it can be changed in the future, right?
Well, and I hope with the notes that, we leave for future administrations, that they understand where we came from when we did this.
Right.
So
and I think we gotta do something, because, we almost got hit with a huge tax burden, and got lucky that
Right.
somebody was willing to take that on.
Yeah, and-
Otherwise, I feel like that would have gone back to taxpayers
right.
to
And-
have to pay for. I've had, and on a different note, I've had with our, what Craig goes around and looks at other people's properties and tells them we gotta clean it up. There's 2 other cities that are right next to us that are dealing with that right now, because they have no ordinance on it. And it's getting just out of hand. And they're like, how do we, and I've been contacted, like, how do you guys deal with it? What do you guys do? And, yeah, they're in like.
Unresponsive property
Yeah.
owners, or,
So, you might feel it's an overreach of government, but you almost have to do this, because it will devalue your property. The house
Right.
that's sitting right next to Bullet Cleaners, I wouldn't probably look at that house, cause I would be like, I don't know if I wanna look at that eyesore next door. You know, I mean, but that's my view.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, that's devaluing, so,
Right.
and this might be a way to just get your foot in the door, that you're having that conversation. Maybe we can find somebody to rent it, or, you know, help them out. The door thing, I mean, if the back door's open, some of these properties, the owners don't even live around here, so they don't know. So at least if we were, hey, we know your building's empty, your doors are open. Oh, we didn't know that. Well, at least,
Yeah.
because otherwise we're just like, put the blinders on, drive by, it's not our problem. But
Yeah.
we don't want it to be a problem. So I get what you're saying, but,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, ordinance number 12-19-24-2, an ordinance adopting chapter 154 of the Melrose City Code, vacant building regulation. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make that
moved.
motion.
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion is
Nay.
carried. Are you nay?
Yeah, many.
You're nay, okay.
Okay, as part of that, we also will need the official title and summary adopted as a second motion.
And we've gone through this before.
All right.
These ordinances we're dealing with are lengthy, and so by approving the summary for publication, you can print the summary rather than the full ordinance.
Okay.
But approving the summary requires a forfeit, so that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, can I get a motion to approve that with the official title and summary of
So
this
moved.
ordinance?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion is carried with 4/5. All right. Then we are on to C, 12-19-24-3, an ordinance.
Yeah, so now we have two ordinances coming up on cannabis. The first addresses cannabis events, retail businesses, and compliance. And I'll let Scott speak to this one because it's more the licensure with the state, or with the city.
We don't get to license, but we get to have some reasonable regulations, and so that's what we're looking at here. This year sets, we do get to have some reimbursement, because we have to do a review when someone comes in, so there is some staff time. This was based on Stearns counties. They had put some samples out, I think the league had put some samples out, and, we're basically just saying, one, what's the process? When someone comes in and wants to open up one of these businesses here, and what's the review? And, there are there's cannabis events, I'm thinking, earlier this fall, there was like the wine tasting out at the Legion. Apparently, that happens in the cannabis world as well. It's like, get a bunch of folks together to sample and advertise their products. We're saying, yeah, you've got to get approval before you can do that. And, you gotta have insurance, we gotta have all that, and we're also saying that you don't get to provide samples at the event. You can display your product, you can do your sales pitch, but, there's no sampling during that event. It sets a registration fees, it talks about what happens if it changes. There is a section there on retail operations, on how, what those plans are. It also addresses compliance checks. That's required by state statute, is, they're setting up this, industry, but they want compliance checks, and that falls on the city. The word unfunded mandates used to be more popular, this is one of them. So, but it's something I'm assuming the police are already doing.
So quick question, like the sample thing that you're talking about? If they do this, do they have samples to take home and try? Is that,
Well,
I'm sorry I'm asking a weird question like that, but if,
if, you know, the, like at the event out at the regional with the liquor, you know, the vendors aren't there just to hand out free samples because they're good guys, right? I mean, they're trying to introduce a product that maybe you haven't tried before, and, you know, if you like it, it'll get you to buy it, and you can take orders, you know, for later delivery.
okay,
So we're saying, okay, you can come, you can display your wares, you can talk about it, maybe somebody will see something they didn't know was there and they wanna try, and they can take orders. You know, and apparently they can even, the state law, go ahead and even sell right at the event if they got the right permits and licenses from the state. But, they don't get, say, I don't know if I like that, could I have a taste of, how is your money or oil or whatever the heck it is, differ from what I've been using before, where they still have to take it home. But they, again, the section of compliance checks, retail sales regulations, this employee training program is basically to encourage the retail people to train their people. There's also a section then on, again, civil fines, and we just talked about, we adopted it. One of the differences is that with this, there's an appeals process. So, you know, the city staff sees a violation, issues them the civil tag. If they don't like it or think it's, you know, there's, you know, disagree with it, you have to give them the opportunity to come before the council and basically sit as the, you know, Supreme Court of the city of Melrose and hear the dispute and decide either to uphold the staff or adjust. So there's provisions for that too. So I'll say a lot of this is, as this comes to town, how are we gonna to deal with these businesses on a day-to-day basis? And again, a lot of these were coming out of, patterned off of some of the ideas that was in the county ordinance.
And Scott did write it so that it limits licenses in Melrose to one. It does allow the city to still hold a municipal if in sometime in the future the city decides to do that.
okay. All right, the action item is to adopt ordinance, 12-19-24-3, an ordinance adopting, chapter 118 of the Melrose City Code, cannabis events, retail business, registration and compliance. Okay, motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried. And then also we have to do official, title and summary of this ordinance. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
See you guys.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Welcome to the new world, I guess. And then, with the next, to be published in, the Star Post on, December 25th. So it's gotta be printed in its entirety, okay?
No, that'll be a summary, because you just approved
Just
the
a summary,
summary.
okay.
Yep.
Approve the summary.
Okay. So then, yeah, to give consider approving the official title and summary of ordinance 12-192-2024-3. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. On the D, ordinance amending zoning ordinance, 1989-1-A.
Yep.
as amended.
Number 2 of 2, this one addresses zoning and where they can go. And again, this was patterned off Stearns County with one specific change. The Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending that regardless of where they go, they have to apply for a conditional use permit and go through the public hearing process. So in no zoning district in Melrose is it an automatic permit. Everyone, regardless of retail, manufacturing, or what it is, would have to go through a conditional use permit process. Specifically, the 2 areas where they would be allowed are C1 and C2, which is essentially Main Street and the highway, but subject to the distances around schools and playgrounds and parks. So,
Is there any questions or concerns on that?
And just, we tend to focus on the retail, the head shops popping up and selling the stuff, but the state has set up this whole system where they're looking at a regulated industry from, putting the seeds in the ground all the way up through, the final sales. So you'll see they address the cultivators, manufacturing, transport, wholesaling, and those are the things that actually worry me more showing up, is we've already got warehouses and trucking companies. It's just another product that you can throw on the truck and get paid for in your warehouse. So those things, given our location on the interstate, I can see something like that happening before you start seeing retailers popping up. So, and those are addressed, as to where those can be located.
yeah, we push those out to the industrial park area as opposed to any of the industry zoning within the central part of the city.
And that's to try to, particularly the manufacturing, where because there is in there a section, again, on setbacks and trying to require that they have some kind of plan and address, what are they going to do about, dust and noise and other nuisance issues, smells. So that we got, who knows what these places will look like. I don't know what a cannabis manufacturing plant does or doesn't do. What kind of neighbor it makes.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then another, approve the official title and summary of the ordinance. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. There is a wage increase for boards and commissions. Questions?
The PUC and the other board and commission members are appointed by the council, and they have not had any wage increases since 2018. Staff is recommending the following wage increases for the boards and commissions beginning January 1st, 2025. For the Public Utilities Commission, it would go from $2,100 to $2,310. That's a difference of $210. And then for the other boards per meeting, we are recommending a $15 increase, which would go from, for the chair, from 40 to 55, and for members from 35 to 50. These dollar amounts were considered as part of the 2025 budget.
Questions, or can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. There is no old business. We're on to new business. Snow pusher purchase.
Good evening. Quotes were received regarding the purchase of multi-function snow pusher. The recommendation is to go with the EMI 4-in-1 blade system from Nuts Trucking. This is a 2025 budget item. I'm asking for approval tonight so we can lock in the 2024 price.
Include shipping, doesn't it?
I
That
believe
price. The other one, the other quote didn't. It was $1,600 around on Mankato, or whatever.
Oh,
for
really?
Mankato. Yeah, so, anyway, I have no problem. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks for your hard work today and the rest of the streets crews. Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Yep. LELS contract, was, go ahead.
Yep, the city of Melrose negotiated in good faith with the local law enforcement labor services, local number 320, and settled the contract language and changes on 10/15/24. We were waiting to see what would happen with some of the other things that are going on, the other union and some market adjustments. We will be going to mediation with the other union. However, we are recommending this evening, because we did negotiate that in good faith, to approve the contract between the city of Melrose and LELS local number 320 as presented, including Appendix A with the wage schedule. I had sent this information out to you. You guys have seen it multiple times in various different meetings that we've been at, but there's also a copy of it if any of you have any questions in front of you at the Diaz. So that is what I am recommending at this time.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Market rate adjustment for the 2025 COLA.
So the city of Melrose and Melrose Public Utilities have been meeting to discuss a labor market, employee retention, and recruitment since February of 2024. On 12/17/24, a joint meeting was held between the city council and the utility commission, and final wages and COLA increases were discussed for all non-union employees. I think there, and, you know, I will, if it was on my part, I apologize, but I was under the impression that we were going to be actually approving all that on the 17th. Having said that and having it not happen, Joe and I had talked, and we had said, we gotta bring this up to you guys tonight. If we wait and just wait for those respective meetings in January, it really creates a huge nightmare for our payroll department. So I am respectfully requesting, and again, it's in front of you, it's things that you guys have seen multiple times, that the council approve the wages and COLA increases of non-union employees as shown, non-union employees and exempt employees. It should also read as shown in the wage schedules that were presented.
All right.
And that, again, is in front of you this evening.
Okay.
There is one change I do want to recommend, I do want to point out, I apologize for this. It was partially calculation and partially re-looking at the points. The police chief wage that was first presented to you, the staff is recommending actually that go a little bit higher.
And that's on D, right?
Yep, so it's right here, it's on this, yep.
Yep. But yeah, we'll vote on C. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
That's not counting this current one that you just mentioned.
It is, but it's getting voted on.
No, actually, the MOU is separate. This, if you
Oh.
voted on this, it would be part of this, everyone's.
Okay.
So it's this sheet here.
Yep.
If you look at it, there's 1738 or 36, I believe is the difference.
Okay.
That was partially a calculation error and partially
Point.
a point thing.
Okay. There was a motion made. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. MOU agreement, police chief.
So you guys have a agreement with the police chief. We set that agreement up last year because we have a severe staffing shortage in our police department, and unfortunately that staffing shortage is still there. And so this current agreement is set to expire on December 31st, 2024. We are requesting that you extend the memorandum of understanding between Chief Craig Mouse and the city of Melrose. We did not put an end date on it, but the chief has been really good about, he understands, he does not, this is not, he's really good about getting the part-time people in and really trying to make it work for the city, as very conscientious about that, but at the same time, we're short. And, you know, his other folks, his other guys want to go on vacation sometimes or do different things, and, you know, he's willing to step in and help with that. So I am recommending that you approve the extension of the MOU between Chief Mouse and the city of Melrose.
Yeah, and I agree. I see you out at every hour of the night and day. I appreciate all you're doing, Chief. You definitely, we need to help you out with this. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Before we go to informational items, 8 years, Justin Trailer is done. And I just want to
Short timer.
congratulate you on all your accomplishments, and you've had a lot for what you've done, especially on that Parks and Rec Board. It's unbelievable what you've accomplished and what you've pushed through. Really made our city a lot better now. And then all the hours of us chit-chatting here and there, work, wherever, you really study it pretty deep, and yeah, I've always appreciated it. And you've taught me a lot of things that I didn't realize, or I looked at it different than what you did, which was able to, I guess, for us to ask questions, to do a better job. So, we do have a little departing gift for you. So we're hoping that, you can, accept it and take a picture with you, and, but, was there anything you'd like to say?
Thanks for letting me have the opportunity, I guess, and, well, I guess the voters did that, but,
Yeah.
no, it's been great working with you guys. Hoping maybe I'll join a few boards or something, or a board or two.
Yeah,
Stay involved. It's been a lot of learning. So, no, it's been good.
all right. Well, informational items, we had a utility commission meeting minutes. All right, Mr. Freeler, can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
All right.